Lucky American coins. Imagine finding a single United States 1-cent coin in an old jar, a forgotten collection, a box of inherited coins, or even sitting unnoticed in the bottom of a drawer. At first glance, it may appear to be nothing more than an ordinary penny, a small piece of American currency that most people would not even think twice about spending. But what if that little coin dated 1982? What if it contained an unusual variety, an authentic mint error, or a composition that made it different from the millions of other Lincoln cents struck during the same year? What if the coin in your hand was one of the rare pieces that collectors have searched for decades to identify? Suddenly, the humble 1-cent coin could become a fascinating piece of American history. The 1982 Lincoln cent is one of the most interesting dates in modern United States coin collecting because 1982 was a major transitional year for the penny. It was the year the United States Mint changed the composition of the Lincoln cent from the traditional copper-based bronze alloy to a much lighter copper-plated zinc composition. This change created an unusual situation in which both older copper cents and newer zinc cents were produced during the same calendar year. The transition also resulted in multiple date and design varieties, different mint issues, and an extraordinary amount of interest among collectors who study the smallest details of American coins. When people hear stories about a 1982 penny being worth millions, or even hundreds of millions of dollars, it is important to separate documented numismatic facts from internet rumors and exaggerated headlines. A claim that a 1982 Lincoln cent is currently worth $247 million should not be treated as an established market value unless there's verifiable evidence from a major auction house, a recognized grading service, or documented public transaction. There is no established record showing that an ordinary 1982 Lincoln cent has sold for $247 million. Such a figure is best understood as an unverified or sensational claim rather than a confirmed value. That does not mean the 1982 Lincoln cent is unimportant. In fact, this coin can be extremely interesting. Some 1982 cents are common and worth close to face value, especially in circulated condition. Others are worth more because they are in excellent condition, have a desirable variety, or display a genuine mint error. The most famous 1982 varieties are connected to the transition from copper to zinc, and identifying the exact type of 1982 cent requires careful examination. The story begins with Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Victor David Brenner designed the original Lincoln cent, featuring a portrait of Lincoln on the obverse. The reverse originally displayed two wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. These coins became known as wheat cents and remained in production until 1958. In 1959, the reverse design changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial. The new reverse was created to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The Lincoln Memorial remained on the cent for decades, including throughout the 1982 production year. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait faces right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. Depending on where the coin was struck, a mint mark may appear beneath the date. The symbols and inscriptions on the 1982 Lincoln cent are more than decorative elements. Each one represents part of the coin's identity and history. "In God We Trust" reflects the nation's motto. Liberty represents one of the foundational ideals associated with the United States. The date 1982 identifies the year of production, while a mint mark, when present, indicates the facility responsible for striking the coin. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, one of the most recognizable monuments in Washington, D.C. The words United States of America appear above the building, while E pluribus unum is placed above the memorial. The denomination 1 cent appears below the building. This design was familiar to generations of Americans and remained on the cent until 2009, when the reverse was changed as part of the Lincoln bicentennial celebration. The 1982 cent is particularly important because the coin's physical composition changed during that year. For decades, Lincoln cents had been made primarily from copper. The traditional bronze composition weighed approximately 3.11 grams. Rising copper prices and production costs eventually made the traditional composition increasingly expensive for the United States Mint. As a result, the mint moved toward a copper-plated zinc composition. The newer zinc cent weighs approximately 2.5 grams. It consists of a zinc core covered with a thin layer of copper. This change created one of the most interesting modern collecting opportunities in United States coinage. Two coins could both bear the date 1982, yet they could have completely different weights and compositions. This is one reason why the weight of a 1982 Lincoln cent is so important. If you place a traditional bronze or copper 1982 cent on an accurate digital scale, the expected weight is approximately 3.11 grams. If you place a copper-plated zinc 1982 cent on the same scale, the expected weight is approximately 2.50 grams. That difference is significant enough to help collectors determine which composition they are examining. However, weight alone does not prove that a coin is rare. A coin can be altered, plated, damaged, or improperly measured. A professional collector should use an accurate scale and examine the coin carefully. If the coin appears to be a rare composition or an unusual error, professional authentication is recommended. The transition year of 1982 produced several major varieties. The Philadelphia Mint produced cents without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint produced cents carrying a small D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins with an S mint mark for collectors. Among the most discussed 1982 cents are the 1982 large date copper, the 1982 small date copper, the 1982 large date zinc, the 1982 small date zinc, and the corresponding Denver issues. The exact availability of each variety and composition is a major part of the coin's collectability. One of the most famous varieties is the 1982 D small date copper cent. This coin is particularly interesting because it combines the Denver Mint mark, the small date variety, and the older copper composition. Authentic examples are highly sought after by collectors. The 1982 D small date copper cent is not the same as an ordinary 1982 penny. A collector must verify several characteristics before claiming that a coin belongs to this category. The date style must be identified correctly, the mint mark must be examined, and the composition must be confirmed. Because valuable coins attract counterfeiters and altered coin sellers, professional authentication can be extremely important. The distinction between large date and small date varieties can be subtle. A person who has never studied Lincoln cents may look at two 1982 coins and see almost no difference. Experienced collectors, however, examine the shape, spacing, and proportions of the digits in the date. The positioning of the digits, especially the appearance of the two, can help distinguish the varieties. This is where magnification becomes useful. A basic magnifying glass or a quality coin loupe can reveal details that are difficult to see with the naked eye. Collectors should examine the date carefully and compare the coin with authenticated reference images or trusted numismatic guides. The mint mark is another critical feature. A 1982 cent with no mint mark was generally struck at the Philadelphia Mint, while a D beneath the date indicates production at the Denver Mint. The presence or absence of the mint mark can dramatically affect the identity of the coin. The S mint proof coins are another category. Proof coins are specially produced for collectors and generally receive multiple strikes and specially prepared surfaces. A proof coin can have a mirror-like appearance and sharp details. The 1982 proof cents are different from ordinary circulation strikes and should be evaluated separately. The history of the 1982 cent is therefore a story of transition. It represents a moment when economics, technology, manufacturing, and collecting history all came together. The United States Mint was attempting to reduce the cost of producing cents, while collectors were unknowingly receiving coins that would later become important to the hobby. The change in composition also created opportunities for errors. Whenever a mint changes a coin's metal composition, the possibility of transitional errors becomes especially interesting. A transitional error occurs when a coin is struck using an incorrect planchette, or an outdated composition during a period of change. Such coins can be valuable when they are genuine and rare. One of the most famous examples in the broader history of Lincoln cents is the 1983 bronze transitional cent, although this is not the same as a 1982 cent. The existence of such transitional errors demonstrates why collectors pay close attention to the composition of coins produced during periods of change. For a 1982 Lincoln cent, a collector should be careful not to confuse a rare variety with a genuine mint error. A variety is generally a coin struck from a particular die design or die variation, while an error occurs when something goes wrong during the manufacturing process. The two categories can overlap in the broader collecting market, but they are not identical. Common mint errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, double strikes, die cracks, die cuts, and other forms of abnormal mint production. Some errors are dramatic and immediately visible, while others are subtle. An off-center strike occurs when a blank coin, known as a planchette, is not properly centered when struck. The resulting design appears shifted toward one side of the coin. The value of an off-center error depends on how dramatic the displacement is, whether the date remains visible, and how rare the error is. A minor off-center strike may bring only a modest premium. A dramatic off-center error showing a significant percentage of missing design can be much more desirable. The presence of a readable date is often important because it allows collectors to identify the coin. A clipped planchette occurs when the metal strip from which blanks are punched is improperly positioned or reused in a way that causes part of the blank to be missing. The resulting coin may have a curved or straight missing section. Genuine clips can be collectible, but damage that occurs after the coin leaves the mint should not be mistaken for a mint error. A broad strike occurs when the coin is struck outside the normal collar. Without the collar properly restraining the planchette, the coin can spread outward and develop an unusual shape. Genuine broad strikes are collectible, although their value depends on the severity and authenticity of the error. A double strike occurs when the coin is struck more than once, and the second strike is not properly aligned with the first. This can create overlapping images or distorted details. Dramatic double strikes can be visually impressive and highly desirable. Die cracks and die cuts are also common subjects of error collecting. A die crack occurs when a crack develops in the die used to strike coins. The resulting raised line can appear on multiple coins struck from the same damaged die. A cut is a more substantial die break that can create a raised, blank area along the edge of the design. Not every unusual mark is a valuable error. This is one of the most important lessons for new collectors. A scratch, gouge, dent, corrosion spot, or damage caused by machinery after the coin entered circulation is not necessarily a mint error. In fact, many coins that look unusual are simply damaged. Collectors should therefore ask a series of questions. Does the unusual feature appear raised or incuse? Is it part of the original striking process? Does the metal flow make sense? Is the feature consistent with a known mint error? Does the feature appear on the correct parts of the coin? Could the coin have been damaged after leaving the mint? These questions can prevent costly mistakes. The weight of a 1982 cent is one of the easiest ways to begin an investigation. A coin weighing approximately 3.11 grams is consistent with the traditional bronze composition, while a coin weighing approximately 2.50 grams is consistent with copper-plated zinc. However, a small difference in weight can occur due to wear, corrosion, dirt, or measurement error. A collector should never rely exclusively on a cheap kitchen scale. A precision scale capable of measuring to at least 0.01 grams is much more useful. The coin should be weighed after being carefully handled and examined, but it should not be cleaned or polished. Cleaning a coin is one of the most common mistakes inexperienced collectors make. A person may believe that a shiny coin is automatically more valuable. In reality, cleaning can permanently damage the coin's surfaces and significantly reduce its desirability. Collectors generally prefer original surfaces and natural toning over artificially polished metal. A 1982 Lincoln cent should therefore be handled carefully. Hold the coin by the edges. Avoid touching the obverse or reverse surfaces unnecessarily. Do not use abrasive materials. Do not scrape dirt from the surface. Do not polish the coin with household chemicals. If a coin appears potentially valuable, the best approach is preservation rather than cleaning. Condition is another major factor in value. Coin collectors use grading systems to evaluate preservation. A heavily circulated cent may have significant wear, scratches, and discoloration. A coin that has never circulated may retain sharp details and original mint surfaces. Uncirculated coins are generally more desirable, but not every uncirculated coin is equally valuable. The grading scale distinguishes different levels of preservation. Professional grading services examine strike quality, surface preservation, luster, color, and other characteristics. The copper composition of some 1982 cents means that color can play an important role in value. However, collectors should remember that artificial color or chemical treatment can be detected and may reduce the coin's value. The zinc cents have different characteristics. Because zinc is susceptible to corrosion when the copper plating is damaged, some 1982 zinc cents can develop what collectors call zinc rot. The surface may blister, bubble, or deteriorate. Such coins are generally less desirable unless they have another important feature. A genuine error involving the copper-plated zinc composition can still be interesting, but condition remains important. A coin with a major error and heavy damage may still be collectible, while a pristine example can attract stronger interest. When discussing the supposed $247 million value, it is essential to understand how the coin market actually works. A coin's value is not determined simply by the year printed on it. Value is influenced by rarity, condition, variety, error status, authentication, provenance, and demand. A coin can be rare, but not highly valuable if few collectors want it. Conversely, a coin with strong demand can command a high price even when more examples exist. The most valuable coins typically combine extreme rarity with intense collector interest and exceptional condition. The $247 million figure should therefore not be presented as the current market price of a 1982 Lincoln cent. There is no established evidence that a normal 1982 penny or a known 1982 Lincoln cent era has achieved such a price. A responsible video can still discuss the claim, but it should clearly identify it as an unverified valuation or internet rumor. This distinction is especially important because viral coin videos often use enormous dollar figures to attract attention. Headlines such as "Check your 1982 penny, it could be worth $247 million" may generate clicks, but they can create unrealistic expectations among viewers. The truth is more interesting than the exaggeration. A 1982 cent may not make someone a millionaire, but the process of discovering what makes one coin different from another is fascinating. The collector learns about American monetary history, metallurgy, minting technology, economics, and the intricate details of coin production. The coin also represents a period when the United States faced the practical challenge of producing billions of small denomination coins economically. Copper had value as an industrial metal, and the rising cost of raw materials encouraged the government to explore alternative compositions. The transition to copper-plated zinc was not simply a change in appearance. It affected the coin's weight, density, durability, and behavior in circulation. The new composition was cheaper to produce, but it also introduced new issues, including susceptibility to damage when the protective copper coating was breached. The 1982 cent therefore occupies a unique position in modern United States coinage. The obverse design itself also deserves close examination. Lincoln's portrait was based on Victor David Brenner's famous design. The portrait is detailed, with Lincoln's hair, beard, coat, and facial features carefully represented. The words "Liberty" and "I and God We Trust" surround the portrait. On an ordinary circulated coin, these details may be worn. On a high-grade example, the hair and facial features can remain sharp. Collectors inspect the surfaces for marks, scratches, contact damage, and signs of wear. The reverse Lincoln memorial design also contains interesting details. On exceptionally well-struck coins, the building's columns and architectural features can be clearly visible. Collectors sometimes examine the tiny details between the columns and around the memorial, although the value of a 1982 cent depends on many factors beyond these details. The inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 cent identify the coin's national identity, motto, and denomination. The phrase E pluribus unum means out of many, one. It is a traditional American motto and appears on many United States coins. The denomination 1 cent tells us the coin's face value. But the face value is not the same as collector value. A coin with a face value of 1 cent can potentially sell for much more if it is rare, historically important, or in exceptional condition. This difference between face value and numismatic value is at the heart of coin collecting. If you find a 1982 cent, the first step is not to assume that it is worth a fortune. The first step is identification. Look at the date. Look for a mint mark. Determine whether the coin appears to be a large date or small date variety. Weigh the coin. Examine the color and surface. Look for possible mint errors. Compare the coin with trusted references. If the coin appears to be a potentially rare variety, consider professional authentication. The mint mark can be especially important. AD beneath the date indicates Denver. No mint mark generally indicates Philadelphia. Proof cents from San Francisco carry an S mint mark. A common mistake is to assume that every 1982 penny is rare. That is not true. The 1982 small date copper cent is the famous variety that attracts substantial attention, but ordinary 1982 cents are not automatically worth extraordinary sums. Another mistake is to assume that every 3.11 gram 1982 cent is a rare error. Many 1982 cents were legitimately produced in the copper composition. Weight helps identify composition, but it does not automatically prove rarity. Similarly, a 2.50 gram zinc cent is not automatically valuable. The zinc composition became the standard for many later Lincoln cents, and ordinary examples are common. The combination of date, mint mark, variety, composition, and condition is what matters. A collector examining a 1982 cent should also pay attention to the possibility of altered coins. Some people attempt to manipulate common coins to make them appear rare. A coin may be chemically treated, plated, modified, or have a mint mark added. For example, a person might attempt to transform a Philadelphia cent into a supposed Denver rarity by adding a D mint mark. Such an altered coin is not a genuine Denver mint product. Professional grading services use specialized techniques to detect alterations and authenticate coins. If a coin appears to be a major rarity, the cost of authentication can be worthwhile. The history of coin grading has transformed the hobby. Before professional third-party grading became widespread, collectors often had to rely on their own judgment or the opinions of dealers. Today, Professional grading companies encapsulate coins in protective holders and assign numerical grades. A graded coin also has greater market transparency because buyers can compare similar examples. However, a grading label does not guarantee that a coin is worth a specific amount. The market can change. Auction prices vary. Collector demand changes. A coin with a high grade may still have limited value if many similar examples exist. Conversely, an extremely rare coin can be valuable even in a lower grade. This is why the idea of a fixed current market value should be approached carefully. For a 1982 Lincoln cent, an ordinary circulated example may be worth little more than face value. Some uncirculated examples can be worth more. Certain varieties and eras can command premiums. The most important varieties may reach significantly higher prices than ordinary examples. But none of these facts support a confirmed $247 million valuation. If someone claims to have a 1982 penny worth $247 million, the correct response is not to immediately believe the claim or dismiss the coin. The correct response is to investigate. Ask for evidence. Is the coin professionally authenticated? Does it have a grading certificate? Has it been sold at a recognized auction? Is there a documented auction record? Is the claimed error recognized by an established error variety authority? Does the composition match the claimed rarity? Does the date and mint mark match the variety? Without such evidence, the $247 million figure remains an extraordinary claim without confirmed support. The possibility of finding an unusual 1982 cent is nevertheless real. Millions of people handle pennies without ever examining them closely. A coin that looks ordinary to one person may be fascinating to another. Coin collecting teaches patience. The collector may spend hours comparing date styles, studying mint marks, weighing coins, and looking at photographs. The reward is not always financial. Sometimes the reward is the discovery of history. Every 1982 cent passed through a chain of events. It was manufactured from metal, struck by a press, released into commerce, carried by people, deposited in banks, spent in stores, and eventually removed from circulation. Some coins survived in excellent condition because they were saved early. Others circulated for decades. A coin's journey can be part of its story. Some 1982 cents may have been placed into collections immediately after release. Others may have remained in circulation for years. A few may have been lost in drawers, buried in soil, or stored in jars. Today, collectors continue to search for them. One of the most exciting aspects of the hobby is that valuable coins can sometimes still be found in ordinary places. However, the phrase valuable should be used carefully. Finding a rare variety worth hundreds or thousands of dollars is very different from finding a coin worth hundreds of millions. The internet has made coin collecting more popular, but it has also created misinformation. Social media posts often repeat exaggerated values without explaining how those figures were calculated. A responsible collector should rely on documented sales and recognized references rather than viral claims. When determining a coin's actual value, recent auction records are among the most useful tools. Auction prices show what buyers have actually paid, rather than what someone hopes to receive. Coin dealers can also provide opinions, but different dealers may have different buying prices and selling prices. A dealer who buys a coin must account for business costs and the possibility that the coin may take time to sell. The retail price of a coin may therefore be higher than the price a dealer offers to purchase it. For extremely rare coins, auction houses can provide access to a larger group of collectors. Competitive bidding can push prices higher when several wealthy buyers want the same coin. But even the most famous coin auctions do not support the idea that a 1982 Lincoln cent is routinely worth $247 million. The highest prices in numismatics are usually associated with extraordinarily rare coins, historically significant pieces, famous patterns, unique specimens, or coins with exceptional provenance. A common date like 1982 does not automatically place a coin in that category. Still, the 1982 Lincoln cent has an important place in American numismatic history. It represents the end of an era for the traditional bronze Lincoln cent and the beginning of the copper-plated zinc era. The year is therefore a dividing line. Before the transition, cents were heavier and primarily copper-based. After the transition, cents became lighter and used zinc as the core metal. This difference can be felt in the hand. A traditional copper cent feels heavier than a zinc cent. The difference may seem small, but on a precision scale it is obvious. Collectors can also sometimes distinguish the coins by sound, although sound should never be considered a reliable authentication method. The density and composition can influence the way a coin sounds when dropped, but visual examination, weight, and professional testing are much more reliable. Magnetic tests are also not a definitive method for distinguishing copper from zinc in this context, because neither standard composition is strongly magnetic. Collectors should avoid relying on simple internet tricks. For serious identification, composition testing by a professional or reputable service is the safest option. The 1982 cent also demonstrates how small changes in manufacturing can create major collecting interest. A difference of a fraction of a millimeter in a date design can distinguish one variety from another. A difference in metal composition can transform the significance of a coin. This is why coin collectors study details that most people ignore. The exact shape of the digits, the spacing of letters, the position of a mint mark, the weight of the planchette, the texture of the surface, the color of the metal, the presence of doubling, the alignment of the strike. Every detail can matter. But collectors must also understand the difference between true double dies and mechanical doubling. Mechanical or strike doubling can occur during the striking process and may appear as flat, shelf-like secondary images. A true double die is created earlier in the die-making process and can display more meaningful doubling characteristics. Not every coin showing a doubled appearance is a rare double die. This is particularly important when evaluating claims about valuable errors. A 1982 cent with apparent doubling should be studied carefully. Examine the date and lettering under magnification. Compare the characteristics with known varieties. If necessary, consult a specialist. The same principle applies to die cracks. A random scratch is not a die crack. A die crack should generally appear as a raised line because the crack in the die creates a corresponding raised feature on the struck coin. Understanding these differences can help collectors avoid false conclusions. Another important issue is environmental damage. Zinc cents can experience corrosion, while copper cents can develop toning or discoloration. Soil, chemicals, moisture, and exposure to air can change a coin's appearance. Some people may see a dark or unusual color and assume it indicates a rare error. In many cases, it is simply environmental damage. Again, authentication is essential. The value of a 1982 cent can also depend on whether it is a circulation strike or a proof. Proof coins are produced specifically for collectors and have specially prepared surfaces. They can show stronger detail and reflective fields. A proof coin should be identified correctly before valuation. The difference between proof and business strike coins can sometimes be subtle to inexperienced collectors. The surface appearance, strike quality, and minting characteristics can help distinguish them. If a 1982 cent is in an original proof set, its history may be easier to establish. If it is found loose in circulation, more careful examination is required. The story of the 1982 cent also reminds us that coin values are not permanent. A price reported years ago may not represent today's market. A coin that sold for a certain amount in one auction may sell for more or less in another. This is why current value should always be based on recent comparable sales. If a collector owns a potentially rare 1982 cent, the best approach is to document it. Photograph the obverse and reverse. Record the weight. Note the mint mark. Avoid cleaning it. Keep it in a protective holder. Seek expert advice. For a coin that may be genuinely rare, professional grading can add credibility. If the coin is sent to a grading company, the service evaluates authenticity and condition. If accepted, the coin is encapsulated and assigned a grade. The grading process can be particularly important for valuable varieties. Buyers often want confidence that the coin is genuine. A counterfeit coin can sometimes be difficult to detect with the naked eye. Counterfeiters may attempt to copy rare dates, alter mint marks, or manipulate common coins. The 1982 small date copper cent is exactly the kind of rarity that should be authenticated before any major valuation is claimed. A person who finds a possible example should not immediately sell it to the first person who offers money. Instead, obtain multiple opinions and document the coin's characteristics. At the same time, collectors should avoid sending valuable coins to unknown individuals through unverified channels. Use reputable dealers, established grading companies, and recognized auction houses. The world of numismatics has both honest professionals and dishonest sellers. Knowledge is the best protection. A 1982 cent that appears to be worth a few dollars may be worth much more if it turns out to be a major variety. Conversely, a coin that looks spectacular may be worth little if the appearance comes from post-mint damage. The collector's challenge is to tell the difference. This is what makes the 1982 Lincoln cent such an engaging subject for a documentary or YouTube video. It combines history, economics, metallurgy, art, manufacturing, and treasure hunting. The coin's face value is only 1 cent. Its historical value is much greater. Its collecting value can vary enormously. And its potential value depends entirely on what the coin actually is. The phrase worth $247 million should therefore be treated as a dramatic claim rather than a confirmed price. If you are making a video, you can use the claim to introduce the mystery, but the video should explain that no reliable evidence establishes a $247 million market value for a 1982 Lincoln cent. The real story is more credible and, in many ways, more fascinating. A 1982 penny can be ordinary. It can be collectible. It can be a rare variety. It can contain an authentic mint error. It can be historically important. But the coin must be identified before its value can be determined. The 1982 small date copper cent is one of the key coins to understand. Its importance comes from the combination of date, mint mark, date style, and composition. The collector must confirm that the coin is actually copper-based and not simply a zinc coin that has been altered or incorrectly identified. This is why the 3.11 gram weight is so interesting. If a 1982 small date cent weighs around 3.11 grams and displays the appropriate characteristics, it deserves closer investigation. But even then, the coin's value depends on condition and authenticity. A worn example is different from a high-grade example. An uncertified coin is different from a professionally graded coin. A genuine coin is different from an altered one. A documented auction result is different from an internet claim. These distinctions are the foundation of responsible coin collecting. The 1982 cent also teaches us about the economics of money. Coins are manufactured to serve a practical purpose, but the materials used to make them can change over time. The United States Mint had to balance production costs with durability and public acceptance. The transition to zinc was one response to rising material costs. Today, collectors can look back and see the transition as an important moment in the history of American coinage. The 1982 Lincoln cent therefore represents more than 1 cent. It represents change. It represents adaptation. It represents the relationship between economics and everyday money. And for collectors, it represents opportunity. The coin may have been made in enormous numbers, but individual examples can still be interesting because of their variety and condition. Imagine 2 pennies sitting side by side. Both say 1982. Both feature Abraham Lincoln. Both have the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Both have a face value of 1 cent. Yet one may weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while the other weighs approximately 2.50 grams. One may have a large date. The other may have a small date. One may have been struck at Philadelphia. The other at Denver. One may be common. The other may be scarce. One may be damaged. The other may have a genuine mint error. This is the magic of numismatics. The differences are often invisible until you know where to look. That is why collectors spend so much time studying coins. The search itself becomes part of the hobby. Every jar of pennies becomes a potential discovery. Every old coin collection becomes a mystery. Every 1982 cent becomes a reason to examine the date and weigh the coin. But the search should always be guided by accurate information. If you find a 1982 cent, start with the basics. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not scratch it. Do not attempt to remove stains. Do not glue it into a display. Do not apply chemicals. Instead, place it safely in a coin holder. Use a digital scale. Take clear photographs. Examine the date. Check the mint mark. Compare the date style. Look for unusual features. Then seek expert advice if the coin appears promising. If the coin appears to be a major rarity, professional authentication becomes even more important. A rare coin can be worth significant money, but the value is determined by the market, not by a viral headline. Collectors should be especially skeptical of claims that a common coin is worth millions without a documented sale. A $247 million valuation would be extraordinary. Such a price would require extraordinary evidence. There would need to be a credible buyer. There would need to be a documented transaction. There would need to be authentication. There would need to be an established auction or private sale record. Without that evidence, the claim should not be presented as fact. The responsible conclusion is that the 1982 Lincoln cent is an interesting and potentially valuable coin, but there is no confirmed $247 million market value. The real value spectrum is much broader and more realistic. An ordinary circulated 1982 cent may be worth only face value. A better condition coin may bring a modest premium. A collectible variety may bring more. A high-grade certified example can command stronger prices. A genuine major error can be worth substantially more depending on rarity. A particularly rare 1982 variety, especially one involving the copper composition and the correct date and mint mark combination, can attract serious collector interest. But each coin must be evaluated individually. This is also why online coin value charts should be treated as starting points rather than guaranteed prices. Values can vary based on grade, certification, color designation, auction timing, and buyer demand. A coin catalog might list a value, but the actual sale price can differ. A dealer might offer less than the retail price. An auction might produce a higher result if several collectors compete. A private sale might produce another price entirely. The market is dynamic. The same coin can be worth different amounts at different times. This is true for almost every collectible. The 1982 cent is also an example of how technology has changed collecting. Modern collectors can use digital scales, high-resolution photography, online databases, auction archives, and professional grading services to study coins more effectively than ever before. At the same time, technology has made misinformation easier to spread. A dramatic photograph of a penny can circulate around the world in hours. A claim about a $247 million value can be repeated thousands of times. Repetition, however, does not make a claim true. Collectors must learn to distinguish popularity from evidence. The most trustworthy information comes from recognized numismatic organizations, professional grading services, established dealers, and documented auction results. For a serious collector, the goal is not simply to find a coin that looks valuable. The goal is to prove what the coin is. That means identifying the variety, confirming the composition, verifying the mint mark, checking the error, assessing the condition, authenticating the coin, and comparing it with actual market sales. This process may take time, but it is far more reliable than believing an exaggerated price claim. The 1982 Lincoln cent deserves attention because it is a genuine transitional coin. It captures the moment when the traditional copper cent gave way to the copper-plated zinc cent. It contains multiple varieties that collectors can study. It offers opportunities for error collectors. And it remains an accessible entry point into the world of numismatics. Someone with only a few dollars can begin searching Lincoln cents. A simple scale and magnifying glass can turn a pile of coins into an educational project. The collector may never discover a fortune. But the collector may discover something even more valuable, an understanding of history. Coins are miniature historical documents. They record the names, symbols, values, and artistic traditions of a nation. The 1982 cent records a moment of economic change. It shows how the United States adapted its currency to changing material costs. It preserves the image of Abraham Lincoln. It carries the words that define American identity. And it tells the story of how money moves through society. That story continues every time someone finds an old penny. Perhaps one of those pennies will be a rare variety. Perhaps it will be an error. Perhaps it will simply be a common coin with a fascinating history. Either way, the discovery begins with curiosity. So if you have a 1982 Lincoln cent, do not immediately throw it into a jar. Take a closer look. Turn it over. Examine the date. Look for the mint mark. Study the shape of the numbers. Weigh the coin. Check the surfaces. Compare it with reliable references. And if something seems unusual, have it examined by a professional. The most important lesson is that rarity must be proven. A coin does not become worth $247 million because someone typed that number into a video title. A coin becomes valuable because collectors recognize something genuinely scarce and desirable, and because buyers are willing to pay for it. The 1982 Lincoln cent is a perfect example. It may be 1 cent by denomination. It may be a fascinating historical artifact by age. It may be a collectible by variety. It may be valuable because of an authentic error. But its exact value depends on the evidence. The famous 1982 D small date copper cent demonstrates how a small difference can create major interest. It is a coin that deserves careful study and authentication. Yet even this important variety should not be automatically described as a $247 million coin. The same principle applies to other 1982 varieties. A 1982 large date copper cent is not the same as a 1982 small date copper cent. A 1982 zinc cent is not the same as a copper cent. A Philadelphia cent is not the same as a Denver cent. A business strike is not the same as a proof. A genuine mint error is not the same as post-mint damage. A certified coin is not the same as an unverified example. Understanding these differences is what separates serious numismatic research from sensational internet claims. The 1982 cent is therefore a coin worth examining, not because every example is a hidden fortune, but because some examples contain important clues about the history of American coin production. Its weight tells a story. Its composition tells a story. Its mint mark tells a story. Its date variety tells a story. Its condition tells a story. Its errors tell a story. And its journey through American commerce tells a story. Perhaps the greatest surprise is that such a small object can contain so much information. The coin may fit comfortably between two fingers, yet its history stretches across decades. It was made during a period of transition. It carried the portrait of one of America's most famous presidents. It circulated through millions of hands. It survived economic changes. It became part of the modern collecting world. And now, decades later, collectors still search for the best and rarest examples. The dream of finding a valuable coin is one of the reasons people collect. Someone might search an inherited collection. Someone else might examine a bank roll. Another person might search through old jars of change. Some collectors specialize in errors. Others specialize in varieties. Some focus on Lincoln cents. Others collect every denomination. But all share the same basic fascination, the possibility that something ordinary may have an extraordinary story. The 1982 Lincoln cent is especially suited to that fascination. It looks ordinary. But it is not a simple coin. It marks a major change in composition. It exists in multiple varieties. It includes coins from different mints. It offers opportunities for variety collectors. It provides examples of errors and transitional issues. And it continues to attract attention from people who want to know whether their penny is worth more than 1 cent. The correct answer is sometimes yes. Sometimes no. And sometimes the answer is we need to examine it more closely. That uncertainty is part of the excitement. If your 1982 penny weighs around 3.11 grams, do not immediately assume you have a rare coin. If it weighs around 2.50 grams, do not assume it is worthless. If it has a D mint mark, do not assume it is rare. If it has no mint mark, do not assume it is valuable. If the date looks unusual, compare it with known varieties. If the coin appears doubled, determine whether the doubling is genuine. If the coin has a strange shape, determine whether it is a mint error or post-mint damage. If someone offers an enormous valuation, ask for proof. This approach protects collectors from disappointment and helps preserve the integrity of the hobby. The $247 million claim may be dramatic, but the genuine story of the 1982 Lincoln cent is already fascinating enough. It is the story of a nation changing its money. It is the story of copper and zinc. It is the story of manufacturing costs. It is the story of the United States Mint. It is the story of Abraham Lincoln appearing on billions of small coins. And it is the story of collectors who look beyond face value. In the end, the 1982 Lincoln cent reminds us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes value is measured in dollars. Sometimes it is measured in history. Sometimes it is measured in rarity. Sometimes it is measured in the excitement of discovery. A single penny may not make someone rich, but it can lead someone into a lifelong passion. And for collectors, that passion can be priceless. So the next time you see a 1982 Lincoln cent, stop for a moment. Look carefully. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Look at the date style. Weigh it accurately. Examine the composition. Search for genuine errors. Protect the surfaces. And remember that the most important question is not, is this penny worth $247 million? The better question is, what exactly is this coin? Once you know what it is, you can begin to understand what it might be worth. And that is where the real adventure begins. The 1982 Lincoln cent may never have a confirmed $247 million market value, but it remains one of the most intriguing modern Lincoln cents because of the historic transition that occurred during its production year. The copper to zinc change, the different date varieties, the Denver and Philadelphia issues, and the possibility of unusual errors make this coin an excellent subject for collectors and researchers. The rarest examples deserve careful attention. The ordinary examples deserve historical appreciation. And every example deserves accurate identification before a value is assigned. If you believe you have discovered a rare 1982 cent, the next step should be verification, not celebration. Photograph the coin under good lighting. Weigh it with a precision scale. Record its measurements. Examine both sides. Compare it with trusted references. Consult a reputable numismatist. If necessary, submit it to a recognized professional grading and authentication service. Only after these steps should you discuss a serious valuation. A coin's value is ultimately determined by what the market is willing to pay for a genuine, authenticated example. That is the truth behind valuable pennies. Not every old penny is rare. Not every error is valuable. Not every unusual mark is an error. Not every high price on the internet is real. But some coins really are special. And the 1982 Lincoln cent is certainly a coin worth knowing. It is a symbol of transition. It is a piece of American history. It is a study in minting technology. It is an example of how economics can change everyday money. And for the collector who knows exactly what to look for, it can be an exciting discovery. The most important takeaway is simple: if you have a 1982 Lincoln cent, examine it carefully, but do not assume that a sensational $247 million figure represents its real market value. The coin's actual worth depends on its specific variety, composition, mint mark, error status, condition, authenticity, and current collector demand. The real treasure is in the details. And sometimes, those details are hiding in the smallest coin of all.